Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, wife complains I don't clean while I cook, so I proceed to sparkle the kitchen instead of making dinner. My cable setup is a tripping hazard? Okay, I'll put it on the ceiling instead. Restaurant server dress code. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Wife complains I don't clean while I cook, so I proceed to sparkle the kitchen instead of making dinner. Been a bit of a reader, thought I'd share something from a few months back. I, 33M, often do the cooking at home, including the washing up that happens after. My wife, 34F, does not usually cook. We established that by our second date years ago. I love her to bits, but she is a culinary disaster and time and sweat has failed to make improvements. It is a lost battle. The sequence of dinner prep usually starts as soon as I finish work. This involves chopping meat/vegetables and rounding up anything that was previously marinated or thawed. This is immediately followed by cooking and then serving, to be eaten hot. It seems logical to me that meals should be enjoyed while they are fresh, and cleaning up can wait. Especially if the kitchen is not being used by anyone else in the interim. I am also the one who normally does the washing after everyone has eaten, and I wash all the cutlery and cooking prep stuff in the same process. This is done while my wife settles our toddler into bed. I prefer this setup because I can get all the washing done in one go, and everyone can eat their meals at the same time together while it is fresh. I do not like washing the pans/pots/wok after cooking and before eating. My wife, however, seems to get annoyed at this. Every now and then while I am cooking, if she walks in, she will start complaining. Making notes that I should pack this and that up. That I should clean the board while waiting for the stir fry to finish. Sometimes, there is literally no downtime for certain dishes, especially with several to serve before it gets too late for the toddler. To be clear, I certainly clean some things as I go. Especially when it concerns raw meat, or things that need to go back into the fridge. I'll wipe down if there's any offensive spills. But for things like chopping boards, certain empty packages, or condiments, I will leave them on the benchtop until I am done, or when I am washing up. Things that I feel don't pose risks or have any urgency to be put away, other than making the kitchen look tidy during cooking. Happy to be proven wrong. Anyway, one day for whatever reason my wife got real snarky at me because I left the chopping board out next to the pans, saying it's not hard to clean as I cook. Whatever, fine. So for the next meal, I made sure to clean everything I touched as I started my meal prep. I had already made sure the little one had her dinner, so there's no harm in drawing this out. Need to open that can of pasta sauce? Better wash down the can opener and dry it before we start. Gotta wipe down the whole kitchen top too. Oops, dropped a garlic clove. I'd better give the whole kitchen floor a good scrub. Is that a bit of charred residue on the stove? Okay, better degrease the entire area. You get my drift. Wife has put the little one to sleep by now. So 3 hours later, the kitchen is sparkling. Literally. Pasta has not entered water, and the sauce materials have not touched the pan. Wife asks where's dinner? I tell her I haven't started cooking because I still need to clean the fridge. There were some stains under the tomato tray. She went back to bed. I still cooked and packed her lunch. I've not been harassed since. Edit, there's no expectation for my wife to clean. I've made it clear that I'm happy to do it, as I clean up messes I make. We split our duties, so she spends that time on other things that need attention around the house. My wife and I both cook, and we have a stay out of the kitchen if one is cooking, unless you're called to help rule. If she's cooking, I don't need to go bother her. She does her own thing. If I am cooking, she doesn't need to come bother me, I do things my way. Sounds like you need to adopt that rule. A good rule for spouses is, you can tell me what to do or how to do it, but not both. Ooh, I love this. My husband and I always say, "You want me to do it, it gets done my way." If you want it your way, you do it. There are things I used to be extremely particular about until I realized that the man just did shit. He didn't need to be asked or told, he just did it. Does it matter how the towels are folded? No. I've learned to shut my mouth and just be grateful that I have a husband who gets stuck in and is an equal partner in our home. If you have the time and energy to complain, you can get to work doing something about it. If you're not involved in the task, keep your unasked for opinions to yourself. If you don't do the chore, you shut up about how it's done as long as it gets done. Simple. Otherwise, she's welcome to do it herself. Please come to my house and cook dinner. I, too, would love to make you angry and end up with a clean kitchen. We take turns cooking. I'm the type who cleans as I go, resulting in a clean kitchen before we eat. My husband cleans a bit while cooking, but the bulk is done after we eat. The stay out of my kitchen and mind your business rule works for us. My cable setup is a tripping hazard? Okay, I'll put it on the ceiling instead. I moved into my university dorm last Saturday. The wireless internet in my university's dorms is complete shit, but for the most part it doesn't matter because each dorm has an Ethernet port for wired internet, which is screaming fast. However, while setting up my Xbox, I quickly discovered that the Ethernet port in my room didn't work. At first I thought it was an issue with my Ethernet switch, a device that allows you to connect multiple devices to Ethernet with only one wall port, but after some help from my dad we realized it was the wall port that didn't work. Out of curiosity, we asked the students in the room next to mine if theirs worked. Nope, theirs was broken too. We checked the port in the floor lounge to see if it was an issue with my cables, but nope, that one worked fine. My roommate emailed maintenance to see if they could help, but they replied that it seemed to be a widespread issue as they had received many reports from multiple buildings about the same problem. Since classes didn't start for a few more days, my roommate and I decided to just hang out in the floor lounge during the day, since the Ethernet there worked, meaning it was actually possible to play online games. After 2 days of dragging our whole setups down the hall to another room in the morning and back in the evening, we only have laptops, but between power cables and Ethernet cables for both of us, it was a bit of a hassle. I had a dumb idea. I have a really long Ethernet cable, like probably 50 feet long. Would it reach from the lounge to our room? Turns out the answer was yes. It reached with plenty of room to spare. So we set everything up, and we had Ethernet from the lounge in our room. All someone walking by would see was a cable coming out from under the lounge door and disappearing under our door. Our fun lasted about a day. We came up with the idea at midnight, and late the next afternoon the RA knocked on our door and said we needed to put the cable away because it was a tripping hazard. Begrudgingly, we complied. Later that evening, my roommate had an idea. The issue wasn't the cable itself, the issue was that running it across the floor created a tripping hazard. So I ran to the store and bought some duct tape. My initial thought was to tape it down so someone wouldn't catch their toe on it, but he had a better idea. We had plenty of extra cable, why not tape it to the ceiling? And that's exactly what we did, giggling the entire time. Several people on our floor have commented on it, and my friend called it genius. 2 days later and we still haven't heard from the RAs again, so problem solved I guess. We got rid of their tripping hazard while keeping our internet. No fallout yet, but I'll update if something changes. Edit, for all of you saying this is a genuine tripping hazard, technically maybe there was a possibility that it could become one. But it was a flat cable, 1/8 of an inch thick at most, pulled tight across the ground. No loops, nothing to catch a toe on. Running cables along the ceiling is a pretty standard solution to your problem. You can even buy dedicated hardware, cable hangers, for that. I'm more concerned what's going to happen when someone else wants to use the port in the lounge. And I'm sure the duct tape fits so well with the decor. Well, it's a college dorm, so I prefer nailing hooks in, just do it so well that it looks like it was done by the facility's face with tears of joy. Modern problems require duct tape solutions. Nicely done. Restaurant server dress code. This isn't my story but my younger brother's, and I giggle each time I think about it. I was bartending in a restaurant in the DFW area and I had gotten my younger brother a job there serving a few months prior. Now, let me preface this by saying we both enjoyed our jobs here and the following was just him being a smart and everyone involved got a great kick out of it. Malicious compliance, yes, but with no ill intent. We were both on shift one night on a slow night and my brother is one to find loopholes in things to push the boundaries of what he can get away with. At the time I had been at this job for a few years now and was pretty well versed in the ins and outs of job and employee handbook. Now, I'm not sure how he came up with this, but he randomly came up to my bar top and had a question about the dress code. He asked, "Does the employee handbook say that we have to wear our belt across our waist?" Puzzled for a second, I racked my brain going through the handbook mentally. I was a trainer, so I had to go in depth with new hires about dress code, policy, etc. After a second I said, "No, I don't think it does, but it does say one is required." I saw the twinkle in his eye glimmer and he takes the belt off and straps it across his chest Rambo style. A few minutes go by and management catches eye of his shenanigans and instructs him to put his belt on properly. He refuses and states that he has his belt and the handbook says nothing about where it has to be. Management argued it for a bit and went into the office to do some digging in the handbook. While they were busy looking through it, my brother went on business as usual, getting the occasional question from customers and he would tell them the situation. All of them enjoyed it and thought it was hilarious, the server/kitchen staff as well. Management comes back after a few minutes and says, "Okay, you were right, it doesn't say, but come on, it's a belt, it goes at your waist." My brother, being a smart, says nope, so he goes back and forth with management for a few minutes, and at this point you could tell the floor manager was getting annoyed. Management just kept insisting that being worn at the waist is implied because that is where belts go. Still, my brother insists that's not the case. So management doubles down and says, "Well, let's look up the definition." And so they do, and lo and behold, the definition made their jaw drop. Per Google. Belt, a strip of leather or other material worn around the waist or across the chest. At that point they conceded defeat in good humor and he wore his belt across his chest for the remainder of his shift. We both had a good relationship with the management team and still laugh about it to this day. Not sure if the wording ever got corrected, but knowing that he got away with that in pretty much every conceivable way warms my heart. Lucky they didn't belt him one. This was not a waste of time. I have a similar one that didn't end quite as well as yours. It isn't malicious, so I never posted here. My dad was a chimney sweep for many years. The company he worked for not only allowed, but encouraged, their chimney sweeps to wear top hats. The kind and style didn't matter. Not part of the dress code necessarily, but most of the employees obliged. The company paid for the hats and the employees got to keep them. Anyway, after retiring he gave me his hat. I wore it all the time. I still have it, although it's in pretty bad shape. I also have 2 other top hats I like to wear. Anyway, I started work at an internet/local exchange carrier some years ago. They had a dress code that did not include hats. Many people, including the owner, wore hats to work. Since I started in technical support and was never customer facing, I thought it wouldn't be an issue if I wore my top hat. I was wrong. Very wrong. The employee handbook was updated the next day that hats were not to be worn in the office without medical necessity. A couple employees were mad at me because I pushed the limits and caused them to lose the privilege. I hated that place. I did something along the same vein when I was serving, except it had to do with socks. There was one afternoon, I was running late, so I grabbed the first 2 black socks I could find. My GM rarely did uniform checks, but for some reason this happened to be one of those days. He checked my socks, one sock came to my ankle, my other sock came to my mid-calf. He gives me a look that says, "Really?" I said dress code only states that socks have to be black. It doesn't say that have to match. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.